Many Spanish learners find forming sentences challenging. What if I told you there are just 20 formulas you need to know which make up 90% of everything you'll ever say in Spanish? In this video, we'll break down Spanish sentence structures into 20 simple formulas. These formulas will help you understand how Spanish works. These are the structures we use in daily life, making your learning practical and immediately useful. Let's explore these together and see how many you already recognize. Before I show you these formulas, two pieces of advice. Number one, if you don't know or you struggle to distinguish the different types of Spanish words, I encourage you to watch my lesson on parts of speech because otherwise this lesson might not make a lot of sense. Number two, a menos que te diga lo contrario, unless I tell you otherwise, you can conjugate these formulas in different tenses. So, let's start with the first formula. La fórmula número uno es la fórmula más básica, sustantivo más adjetivo. This formula is going to help us describe. Most of the time, Spanish qualifying adjectives, the adjectives that we are going to use to describe, are going to be placed after the noun. Necesito un celular nuevo. Algo clave con los sustantivos en español es que muchas veces van precedidos por un determinante. Remember, if you don't know what this fancy word means, check my lesson on parts of speech. With this formula, certain verbs can also be placed between the noun and the adjective. For example, Lily es amable, pero ahorita ella y yo estamos estresadas. Does this mean that we never place the adjective before the noun? Just like in English, sí podemos poner el adjetivo antes del sustantivo, but we do this in very special situations. Situation number one, con el que exclamativo to emphasize qualities. ¡Ay, qué bonitas flores! Situation number two, we can also place the adjective before the noun when we want to provide subjective descriptions. No es una buena idea. Check that in this case, my description is not based on information or data. I'm just giving you my subjective perspective. Because of that, voy a poner el adjetivo antes del sustantivo. When you're working with Spanish adjectives, you have to remember que tienes que marcar el género y el número del sustantivo que estás describiendo. Now that you're describing things, let's go see formula number 3. Formula number 3 also describes, but in this case, we are going to be describing actions. Como pasó, cuándo pasó, y la frecuencia are some examples of things that you can describe. For example, Roberto habla rápido. Over here, rápido is helping me describe how the action is being done. Rápido. Esta oración es correcta, but we can also add additional information to this formula. Observa estas oraciones y trata de identificar qué están haciendo los adverbios. In these examples, the adverbs are helping us intensify qualities that are being described by other adverbs or adjectives. Roberto habla rápido. Roberto habla muy rápido. La fórmula número 4 is going to help you ask for specific information about something or someone. Al igual que en inglés, en español, cada interrogativo pregunta por información diferente. Checa la diferencia. ¿Cuánto tiempo estudias? I'm asking you for amount. ¿Dónde compraste tus zapatos? Te estoy preguntando por ubicación. Once you start making more advanced and precise questions, you have to remember que en español nunca terminamos las preguntas con preposiciones. ¿Para cuándo es la fiesta y en dónde? If you want to learn how to make more advanced and precise questions, such as this one, check my lesson on how to ask questions fluently that you're going to find in the description. La fórmula número 5 es una de las fórmulas más importantes del español. Why? Because this one is going to help us express who is doing the action, what action is being done, and to or for whom the action is done. Con el objeto tenemos objetos directos e indirectos. Understanding the difference between these ones are key for the next formulas. So let me put these formulas in context. Sandra limpia las ventanas. This is a direct object. Sandra le canta al bebé. And this is an indirect object. As I mentioned, formula number 5 is crucial because most of our sentences are going to use this formula, pero también nos va a ayudar a construir otras fórmulas. You've probably seen sentences like Sandra limpia las ventanas y limpia a su perro. And you might wonder, why do we have la preposición a over here, but we don't have it over there? And it's the same verb. Esto es lo que llamamos personal a. Personal a means that we are going to use la preposición a to introduce a person or specific animal working as a direct object. So yes, it's very important that you know how to identify these direct objects. As a result, we say things like Sandra escucha a su mamá. Su mamá es el objeto directo y porque es una persona, we need personal a. But check this example. Sandra escucha música. Why are we not using personal a here? Porque música no es una persona. No necesitamos personal a. Do not confuse personal a with formula number 7. La fórmula número 7 se conoce como duplicación del objeto indirecto. In this case, we're using la preposición a to highlight, clarify, or introduce an indirect object. Completely different things. Let me show you what this means. If I say Sandra le canta and I don't have context, I could refer to him, it, her, or even formal you. Le y les son pronombres muy ambiguos. La duplicación me ayuda a clarificar. Sandra le canta al bebé. The duplication over here is happening because I have the indirect object pronoun les, but I'm also mentioning the indirect object to give you more context. La duplicación también se usa para enfatizar. Imagine my brother is about to eat the chocolates my mom got me. I have to grab his attention and I'm going to say, hey, mi mamá me compró esos chocolates a mí. Don't touch them. Estas tres últimas fórmulas que vimos refer to actions that we do to or for something or someone else. La fórmula número 8 es muy similar, but it has a very important tweak. La fórmula 8 es una fórmula reflexiva. We are going to use this formula to refer to actions we do to ourselves. In other words, the subject and the object of the action are the same person. There are plenty of actions in our daily life situations that we do to ourselves. For example, Jessica se maquilla muy bien. Ponte los zapatos. Como puedes ver con estos ejemplos, la posición del pronombre reflexivo is going to change depending on the conjugation we're using. If you're struggling with reflexive verbs, I have a key rule to help you determine if a verb has a reflexive form or not. You can learn more about that key rule in the link that I'm going to leave you in the description. This is our next formula, and we are going to use it because in Spanish, just like in English, we have some verbs that need an infinitive verb to have a complete meaning. Podemos ir mañana. Ejemplos de verbos en español que trabajan con infinitivos son deber, gustar, necesitar, poder, querer y saber. A key Spanish formula that also involves infinitive verbs es la fórmula número 10. La fórmula número 10 expresa obligación. But here is the trick. I, la forma impersonal del verbo haber, expresses impersonal obligation. Meaning that you're not referring to someone specific. Hay que hablar con ella. Who? You or me? I don't know. Hay que hablar con ella. On the other hand, if we use tener que, we are referring to someone specific. Y porque estamos expresando obligación específica, tenemos que conjugar el verbo tener. Yo no tengo que ir, pero tú tienes que hablar con ella. Good luck with that. Haber is such a powerful verb porque además de tener la forma impersonal, on top of having the impersonal form, when we conjugate haber and we combine it with a past participle, we are going to form the perfect tenses. The perfect tenses are going to help you talk about completed actions that are relevant to different time frames. En este caso, es importantísimo que conjuguemos el verbo haber. In this case, we do need to conjugate haber because this conjugation is going to express tense, mood, and subject. ¿No habías terminado ya? Yo no he lavado los trastes. Over here, by changing the tense, we have the past perfect and the present perfect. En español hay algunos verbos que comunican continuidad. Combining these verbs with past participle is key for your fluency because they are going to help you describe current states or emotions. En este caso, el participio está trabajando como un adjetivo. Do you know what that means? Yes. That means that we have to make sure to mark gender and number. Let me show you. ¿Estás enojada porque la pastelería lleva cerrada toda la semana? Of course I'm still mad. Sí, sigo enojada. Do you really have to ask? Mastering these continuity verbs is essential for your fluency porque también los podemos combinar con otro elemento clave del español, los gerundios. But as you saw in the previous examples, each combination is going to deliver slightly different things. Vamos a comenzar con la combinación número 1, estar más gerundio. Estar más gerundio expresses actions in progress or things that are happening at the moment of speaking. If you want to sound more natural, puedes usar andar en lugar de estar. La segunda combinación es llevar más gerundio, más cantidad, amount. This one is going to help you express how long you've been doing something. La tercera combinación es seguir más gerundio. Seguir más gerundio expresa que una acción que inició en el pasado todavía continúa en el presente. Let me put these combinations in context so you can see how they work. Lisa está viviendo con Ana. Yes, right now. ¿Todavía sigues hablando con ellas? Checa este ejemplo con llevar. ¿Llevas esperando mucho? Sí. Ay, perdón. Formula 14 is also extremely common in conversations porque esta preposición is going to help you connect words, pero también a expresar las relaciones entre esas palabras. Examples of those relationships are time, origin, purpose, and destination. Como en el inglés, en el español, cada preposición comunica información diferente. Check the difference. Voy a salir con mis amigos. Con expresa compañía. Check another example. Estoy ahorrando para comprar un carro. In this case, para is helping you express the goal of an action. What's the goal? Comprar un carro. With the first formulas, and to be more precise, formula number 3, if I remember correctly, we learned que los adverbios nos ayudan a intensificar características. Esas flores no son tan bonitas. Understanding how adverbs and adjectives work together is key for the next formula. La fórmula número 15 es una fórmula de comparación, and we are going to use it to compare qualities between actions or things. Alan come tan lento como tú. Over here, we're comparing how you guys eat. Lento. Él come tan lento como tú. Now check another example. Ese libro no es tan largo como este. Over here, I'm using an adjective to compare the qualities between these books. Checa este ejemplo otra vez. Al final de la oración, tengo un pronombre, este. I'm not mentioning book again. When the context is clear, we want our speech to be as efficient as possible. One way to do this is avoid being repetitive, and we do this by using pronouns. Con las comparaciones también podemos comparar la cantidad de cosas, pero también la intensidad de una acción. In this case, we need to make some minor adjustments to the formula. Check the difference. Alan come tanto como tú. Over here, we're measuring how much you guys eat. Ay, guys, you eat a lot. Tanto como también nos ayuda a medir la cantidad de cosas que tenemos. And because we're talking about things, we need to use nouns. That means that we have to worry about changing the gender and number of tanto. No tienes tantos libros como ella. Libros es un sustantivo plural masculino, and I need to reflect that information with tantos. Con las comparaciones, we also need Formula 17, because this one is going to help us express a higher degree in actions, things, or qualities. La buena noticia, the good news, es que solo tenemos una fórmula que podemos usar con adjetivos, adverbios y sustantivos. Déjame mostrarte. ¿Tienes más libros que Tere? This is a noun. Ese teléfono no es más caro que ese. This is an adjective. René come más rápido que yo. And this is an adverb. En fórmulas anteriores aprendimos que muchas oraciones en español tienen un sujeto, un verbo y un objeto. For example, le compré un libro a Laura. There's nothing wrong with these sentences, but if the context is clear, we want to make our speech more efficient. La fórmula 18 es perfecta para esto porque nos ayuda a reemplazar el objeto directo e indirecto de la oración. In this context, when we're replacing both objects, you have to remember that le y les are going to become se for pronunciation purposes, but also to avoid misunderstandings. Check how efficient these sentences are. Se lo compré, pásamelas, por favor. With Formula 18, there are two mistakes a lot of students make. Error número 1, olvidar que la posición del pronombre is going to vary depending on the conjugation. Mistake number 2, regardless of the tense that you're using, you have to remember that the indirect object pronoun always comes first. Los pronombres indirectos are also key for our next formula. This is a formula that can be extremely confusing for students. Esta es la fórmula de los verbos como gustar. Formula 19 expresses that the subject causes a feeling on someone. Como muchos otros verbos, we are going to conjugate based on the subject. However, the subject is the thing or the activity causing the feeling. We are going to use the indirect object pronoun to express who is experiencing the feeling. Observa con esta fórmula that we are going to start our sentence with the indirect object pronoun and we are going to end it with the subject. That's why we say things like a Rubén no le gusta despertarse temprano. Y observa que usé la duplicación del objeto indirecto para darte más contexto. Now let me conjugate this verb in another tense so you can see we're following the same rules. ¿No te gustaron los mariscos? La fórmula número 20 es considerada de nivel intermedio o avanzado, but in reality you need it in your conversations. Esta es la fórmula más básica del subjuntivo. And you are going to use it to convey hopes, doubts, advice, suggestions, and requests directed at others. Esta fórmula básica del subjuntivo also expresses emotions about situations or others' behaviors. Let me put this formula in context. Espero que estés bien. This is a hope. I really hope you're okay, but I just don't know. Me molesta que llegues tarde. You might be wondering, why do we need a subjunctive in this case? I'm not upset all the time. I only get upset when I'm triggered. Me molesta que llegues tarde. It doesn't happen all the time, but I get upset when it happens. When you're using this subjunctive formula, you have to be aware that the indicative verb is going to help you introduce the feeling. Espero que estés bien. There are other advanced formulas with the subjunctive that you can add to your Spanish, but before you get to that, I have a challenge for you. So I want you to take at least 5 formulas that we've learned and write a little story about you or your day. Leave your answers in the comments so I can hear from you, but also to give you feedback if you need it. To make the most out of these formulas, you need to be familiar with certain topics. I'm going to leave you links to those lessons in the description of this video. I hope to see you soon. Bye!